So I'm just going to admit this is a hard thing to do, just off the top. Just going to say that. So we are in the home stretch of this election campaign. And I want to say a few words about what lies ahead and give you my perspective on the decision that is left for voters. On June 7th, voters will elect a new government. I don't know who voters will choose. That is up to them. But I'm pretty sure that it won't be me. After Thursday, I will no longer be Ontario's premier. And I am okay with that. Because as I have said so many times to the people of this province, it is not about me. And the reason I'm feeling emotional is it's about those kids behind me. It's about them. It's about their futures. It's about the kind of province that they are going to live in. That's what all of this has always been about for me. So, it's about the people of this province. It's about their well-being and their futures. It's about their jobs, not my job. As Premier, I have dedicated myself to fighting for those people. For the single mother struggling to raise a family while living on the minimum wage. For the student who earned the grades to go to university, but whose family hasn't earned quite enough to cover tuition. You know, Robert Quaife, who's running for us in Quinte West, said that's the reason he's running. Because he didn't have the money. His dad told him he had to go to work. He didn't have the money to go to university. For the dad in the 905 who has to drive for an hour, stuck in traffic each day, both ways, for whom expanded GO train service makes all the difference. For the adult daughter who does all that she can to care for her aging parents, while she also scrambles to find safe, affordable childcare for her own toddler. And for the countless other families working hard, contributing so much to our communities, and counting on government to make their lives just a little bit easier, their load just a bit lighter, and their futures just a bit brighter. Here in Ontario, we live in the very best place in the world. I love this province. I love its people. And even if I won't be leading this province as Premier, I care deeply about how it will be led. After a few weeks on the campaign trail, and with just a few days before people cast their vote, here's my take on where we're at. People want change. But by and large, they're confident about where Ontario stands and where Ontario's headed. For this reason, and I hear this over and over again, many voters are worried about handing a blank check to either Doug Ford or the NDP. With a majority government, Doug Ford would have too free a hand for the comfort of most people. They just don't trust his judgment. They don't trust the choices that he would make. This is a man who was only too happy to open up the Greenbelt to condo development until he was caught out, who mused about selling cannabis in corner stores where our kids shop. This is a man who has promised to cut $40 billion out of government services and pretends that that can be done without costing a single job or harming our hospitals or harming our schools. This is a man who has defended candidates who speak ill of others, who smear people because of their religion or their gender or their sexual orientation. I don't believe this is a man who the people want to hand Ontario over to without putting him on the shortest leash possible. And the sentiment toward the NDP is much the same. People worry about what will happen to our economy if the NDP takes power and form a majority government with nothing to hold them back. People worry that the NDP will raise taxes on small businesses, that they will take unemployment higher, and that job creation will go lower. They will permit strikes to go on, just as they have at York University, even after all hope of a negotiated settlement has been exhausted. People worry that the NDP will approach the responsibility of running Ontario's economy with a plan that is risky and is unrealistic. So it comes down to this. Voters are going to pick a new premier, but they are generally worried about giving that person, whether it's Doug Ford, whether it's the Conservatives, whether it's the NDP, too much power. They're worried about giving them too much of a free hand because they're concerned about what that might mean for our economy and for our future. And that's why a vote for the Liberal Party can mean so much. The more Liberal MPPs that we send to Queen's Park on June 7th, the less likely it becomes that either Doug Ford or the NDP will be able to form a majority government. By voting Liberal, you can keep the next government, Conservative or NDP, from acting too extremely one way or the other. By voting Liberal, you can keep the next government, Conservative or NDP, accountable to you. By voting Liberal, you can keep Doug Ford and the NDP from having a blank check. So with a few days left, my message is this. A vote for the Liberal Party is a vote to keep the next government in check. A vote for the Liberal Party is your best bet to make sure that the next government is not a majority government. And the next government is thereby held to account for all voters. So for the next few days, because there are only a few days left, I will campaign hard to elect as many Liberals as possible. We'll fight for our values, for a practical approach, and for government that will keep from extremes and force our way forward toward a better balance for the people of this province. We have terrific local candidates. They deserve your support. They'll fight for your votes, and I will fight for them, even though I will not be Premier after this election. Thank you so much. Merci.
Premier. Premier, are you going to stay on as Liberal Party leader after Thursday night? I mean, you've conceded that you probably can't win the election. Are you going to be the leader Friday morning?
Well, I think that we need to see what happens. I can't tell you exactly what that process will be, but the sure thing is that we're dealing with the reality that I won't be the Premier.
So is this effort this week, is this about getting as many Liberal MPPs elected so that you will at least maintain official party status?
So I think, I think that what's happening is that there are a lot of people who are having the feelings that I was talking about, and they're not sure what to do. It's going to sort itself out, that there's going to be I have to practice. There's going to be an NDP or a Conservative government. But there are people in ridings where, they think the local Liberal candidate is the person who should win. And I don't know exactly which ridings those are, and I'm not talking about specific ridings, but there are those ridings around the province. And I think what I'm saying is that if your concern is that you'd be electing me or electing a Liberal government, that's not going to happen. And so we need Liberals at Queen's Park to stop a majority for either of the other governments.
Expliquer quel est votre constat et qu'est-ce que vous voulez là? Vous avez parlé d'un gouvernement minoritaire. Pouvez-vous nous expliquer en français?
Alors, et je m'excuse, je n'ai pas dit ça en français. Je crois que c'est important d'avoir libéraux pour assurer que nous n'avons pas un gouvernement majorité, parce qu'il y a des concerns pour Doug Ford ou l'NPD, qui Doug Ford va couper les services, et que l'NPD a un plan qui a beaucoup de risques. Et si nous avons libéraux à Queen's Park, c'est une assurance que nous n'avons pas un gouvernement à majorité.
Jusqu'à quel point ça a été une décision difficile à prendre, ça?
Oui, c'était difficile. c'est très difficile pour moi personnellement parce que je crois que les libéraux ont le plan qui est le meilleur pour la province. Nous avons bâti Ontario, nous avons une économie forte, nous avons une société qui est juste, plus juste, et nous avons un plan qui peut continuer à bâtir cette société, cette économie. Mais je sais que ce n'est pas possible, que je ne serai pas le Premier ministre après l'élection. Mais c'est très important d'avoir les libéraux pour assurer que nous n'avons pas un gouvernement majorité.
For just 5 days.
In hindsight, would it not have been better to have stepped down a year ago and given your party a stronger chance going into the election?
Well, you know, that question's been asked many, many times, and I believed that we had a good shot at this. This campaign is a different campaign than we had expected it to be. You know, I think Doug Ford introduced a whole different element into this campaign that we might not have expected. And I stand by the plan that we put forward. I stand by the work that we have done, our record, and our plan that builds on that record. And that was the record and the plan that we were taking into this election. And I had made a commitment when I ran in 2014 that I would build the province up, and I was going to complete that job. And that's why I didn't step down 2 years ago. And I had, 2 years ago and today, I had and I have a strong and cohesive team. We share a value system, we believe in what we've done, and we believe in what we're offering to the province. But there is a strong appetite for a change of government, and that's what we're dealing with.
Should make this announcement.
Well, I think people are making their decisions. I think there are probably millions of people around the province who are trying to decide and are very worried about those options that I laid out. And so I just wanted to say to them, it's not going to be a Liberal government. So I think there's an element of that frees people to make a decision riding by riding on their local candidate.
Was there a specific event or occurrence or a poll that was the straw that broke the camel's back?
A confluence of things. I can't tell you the moment. I can tell you that we have been looking at this, and I did really well in the debate, and I'm just going to say that. I get to say that, but that wasn't going to turn the tide. And so I'm saying this today because people still have time to think, and I want them to think about this. I want them to think about this angle, because people who are worried, we had this example this week with the steel tariffs, where I made a clear call out to the Conservative leader and the NDP leader to join together and take a position that would be in the best interest of the people of Ontario, and they weren't able to do that. And I think people were disturbed at the response. Doug Ford says he's not even going to stand up to Trump, he's just going to let it go. And Andrea Horwath says that it's my fault and Justin Trudeau's fault that Trump has slapped tariffs on. So, I think those kinds of examples make people think, wow, I just don't think either of those people should have the reins of power, should have majority. So that's why I'm saying this.
With all that in mind, who do you think is better for the province, Horwath or Ford?
Really, that's going to sort itself out. People are going to make that decision across the province, and I'm not dictating that. I'm not pretending to dictate that. I'm just saying it's going to be one or the other, and let's make sure that there are enough Liberals there, that there's a check, that there isn't a blank check, that there's a check on a majority government.
Aren't you in effect
saying this today?
Sorry?
How does this feel for you to be saying this today?
Well, I think you can tell I'm emotional. It's hard. It's hard because I know there are Liberals who believe in us and believe in what we've been doing and what they are doing. And some of them are going to be mad, you know, they're going to be saying, Kathleen, why are you doing this? Why are you saying this? Some of them are just going to be sad. And I just, I am talking to them, but I'm talking to everyone in the province. You know, we got to think hard. And I'll be talking to lots of Liberals. I'm going to be campaigning. You're not getting rid of me. I'm going to be campaigning really hard right through until that last vote is cast, because those local fights are really, really important. But it is hard. I'm not going to pretend it's not hard. For someone who's as competitive as I am, when I see that finish line, that just makes me go faster, you know? So it's hard to say, I know part of the outcome before I get to that finish line. My coach, Bonnie Parkhill, sent me a note this week and said, you know, you always had a really good kick, which is the last bit at the end. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that for my candidates around the province.
Was
Might
this
backfire and actually weaken your party at kind of a crucial time?
I would never want to do anything that would undermine any of my candidates, any of those races. I have thought long and hard about this, believe me. I have thought about this. I have deliberated. I have talked to my smart team. And I'm only doing this because I believe, and I have heard my own intuition in what I have heard from candidates and what I have heard from voters, is that this is what people are struggling with. This is the very thing that people are struggling with. And so I'm saying to people, let's step back and let's figure out how we do this in a way that we can keep the province moving forward without having a majority government that will take us down the wrong path.
Aren't you, in effect, making this decision easier for people who, you know, may be thinking about voting either Liberal or NDP? Now they're saying, okay, well, the Premier's saying we're not going to be in government. And most people vote for a government. They're saying, my party's not going to be in government. I might as well vote for the party who you have admitted you have an overlap with.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I know that there are a lot of people who have voted Liberal in the past who want a change, and they are not necessarily comfortable voting for the NDP, and they're worried about what the NDP might do. And so, you know, that's one of the groups of people that I'm talking to, because if we can have good, strong trains, I know, infrastructure, building that up. That's right. Too bad it wasn't a GO train. That would have been even better. So let me just say that again, that, you know, there are many people in this province who have voted Liberal, who want to change, and they're not necessarily comfortable voting for the NDP. They're worried about what that might mean. And so what I am saying to them is that, you know, we know that we're not going to form a Liberal government. We know that I'm not going to be the Premier, but we need Liberal MPPs at Queen's Park to assure that there isn't a majority. You know what? I really can't. I can't go into the hypotheticals in terms of what that configuration is going to look like. I just can't. This is a really important few days. We need to get through these few days, and then you'll have lots of time to ask me questions on the evening of June the 7th and the morning of June the 8th, if you choose.
Some leaders, we know they're going to lose. They will. It's a cleaner out if they lose their seat as well. Do you prefer that?
You know, I have served the people of Don Valley West every single day since I was elected in 2003, and they mean an enormous amount to me, and I want to continue to serve them.
Premier, in one of the things that people talk a lot about, and you've talked about in the past, is strategic voting. So there are some ridings that a Liberal vote might actually hurt the NDP and elect a Tory. Are you going to withdraw resources from seats that you cannot win so that the NDP can win those seats, and then focus them on the seats that you can win, and then say to the NDP, look, you guys can't win, but you can cause the Tories to win by in Don Valley West is a good example.
So you're way down into strategy that where I don't go. So, you know.
A progressive voters.
Yeah. So I think that this is going to sort itself out. I think people kind of know where the fights are in their ridings, and they know where the strong Liberals are, and they know where their choices lie. And I think that what's important is that where it's possible, where people feel that their local Liberal candidate is the one that has the best shot at stopping a majority, then that's what I'm asking them to vote for.
Is there not at least some elements of hypocrisy, given the push for strategic voting back in 2014 by yourself?
Well, I think this is a very different situation. I think it's a different situation, and I'm honestly, I mean, you can label what I'm saying today any way you choose. I'm trying to call it the way I see it and address concerns that I have heard from people across this province and that I've heard from candidates across this province, and I'm trying to lay out the situation as honestly as I can. We work as a team. We really do work as a team, and there's lots of input, and I can't even tell you exactly where the idea came from, but it is a logical next step. When I said I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry about all the good things that we have done in the province. That was a way of saying this isn't about me, and quite frankly, today is again saying this isn't about me, and it really isn't about me. I'm not going to be the premier. So that is the next step.
Est-ce que vous saviez en début de campagne que vous alliez perdre, ou vous croyez qu'une victoire
Non.
était possible?
Non. À le commencement non. I didn't know. We thought we were going to be fighting a different campaign. It has been a very unusual campaign in Ontario, and this is where we are today.
But you
Okay.
honestly thought at the beginning of the RIP period you could turn it around.
I did, and we did. We absolutely did. Yeah.
Is there something, Premier, over the last 5 years with you in charge that you think happened, or you did, or there was a decision that was made that maybe brought us to this point? Was it privatizing hydro, perhaps? What was it that got people so angry about your government and you specifically?
I think it seems to me I've answered that question a lot. I don't think there's a single thing. I don't think you can point to one thing and say, this is it. I think there was, even at the beginning of the campaign, and we knew this. We knew that this was going to be tough because we had been in office for a long time. But I also knew that so many of the things that we were doing are making a difference in people's lives. I can't go into a coffee shop. I can't go into a place where there's a woman cleaning the halls without having, even if it's a silent interaction, an interaction about the fact that she's earning $14 an hour and her life is better because of that. I can't go into a crowd of people without hearing from someone whose child is at university or college because their tuition is covered and they wouldn't be there otherwise. So I am so proud of what we've done, and I am so proud of the plan that we brought forward. And I hope that whatever happens on June 7th, that we continue, we all of us, not we, my party, we all of us continue to build this province. We are the best place in the world. We are positioned to be a beacon in so many ways. We've got clean air, we're protecting our water, we are building technology that the rest of the world needs. We have a fair society, and it's fairer every day. First time in 4 years, food bank usage was down. So we've got all the components, and our diversity, our ability to find a way to live together, it's not perfect. I know it's not perfect. We wouldn't have an anti-racism directorate if it were perfect. But we have an anti-racism directorate because we're prepared to tackle the big questions and the real challenges that people face in their day-to-day lives. So I love this place. I'm going to continue working for this place, and there are great Liberals all over the province who can assure that we don't have an NDP or a risky Tory government, and that's why I'm here today, and thank you so much. Merci.